Hi my frogs and welcome back to my channel. I'm sorry for this video being a little late, but stay tuned to the end of it for me to explain why. Today we will be reading This Side of Paradise, A Mother's Lullaby by Scoregirl on AO3. This fic is part 1 in the Chambers of Reflection series and is completed, so we should be getting through this one pretty quickly. This fic has 132,543 words, and well, in terms of archive warnings, descriptions of graphic violence, it is rated for teen and up audiences, but let's not waste any more time and get into it. Summary. Something about Rei that gets on Enji's nerves. She never laughs, barely smiles, and her eyes never show a hint of emotion. She's like a doll. She was fragile, yes, but not in the way he had expected. She was cold, distant, and something about her that felt dangerous. But all that changed when their first child was born. AKA, where Rei is the reincarnation of Douma and makes it her husband's problem. Chapter 1. Outside the Box. The Himura estate loomed in front of him, a cold, imposing structure nestled on the forest-covered grounds. Enji Todoroki, a man of strength and ambition, wasn't used to the feeling discomfort. But today, as he approached the gates, there was an unsettling chill in the air. It wasn't just the autumn wind, but something about this place felt otherworldly. Enji's purpose was clear. He was here to secure a future, a union that would elevate his bloodline and combine his quirk with one that could temper its destructive heat. A quirk marriage. He had heard of the Himura family's ice abilities. Their descendants were said to possess beauty as cold and untouchable as the frost they commanded. That was what he needed, an heir that could surpass even him. But nothing had prepared him for her. Rei Himura sat beside her father in the modest, sparsely decorated room, her presence as stark as the frozen garden beyond the windows. She wore a pale blue kimono. Its soft fabric seemed to blend into the alabaster skin. Her long silver hair was carefully arranged, but it was her eyes like frozen lakes, that captured Enji's attention. Enji had expected her to be delicate, given what he knew of her quirk, but this woman was more than fragile. She was untouchable, ice incarnate. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with us, Todoroki-san," Rei's father began, his voice formal yet laced with hope. He was a man on the edge of desperation, and Enji could sense it in every word. Enji heard the family head's words. His focus was on Rei, her silence, her stillness. She sat there as though carved from ice, barely acknowledged the conversation. What was happening around her? Her hands resting in her lap, her pale fingers delicately folded as if holding onto something fragile. Yet her stillness was unnerving. Detachment. Like she's not really truly there, Enji thought, his gaze lingering on her frozen expression. Her mind seemed far away, wandering in some distant, unreachable place. He broke the stare for a moment, detecting his words to her father. "I am prepared to offer support to your family in exchange for a union with Rei-san. My goal is clear. Our quirks combined will create an heir stronger than either of us. My quirk needs balance. Your family's ice will provide that." Rei's father nodded eagerly, in relief in his face, poorly hidden. Yes, of course, Todoroki-san. The Himura family will be honored to strengthen its bond with your lineage. Our daughter, she understands her duty. Enji's eyes flickered back to Rei. She had not flinched, not even when her father spoke of her so plainly. There was no hint of rebellion, nor resistance. But neither was there any warmth or emotion. Her compliance was as cold as her demeanor. She is like ice herself, he thought. Beautiful but cold, fragile yet untouchable. Something about her unnerved him. Her quirk wasn't the only chilling thing about her presence. There was something deeper, a shadow in her eyes. Enji prided himself on his strength, his ability to intimidate and dominate any situation. But Rei, she felt different. Not strong, not in the way that he would. But there was something underneath her icy exterior that made him feel as though he was walking on ice. Thin ice. Her gaze drifted, her eyes unfocused, as though she were looking past him, past everything in the room, into a place no one else could see. It gave him a strange sensation, that she wasn't fully present. What was he thinking? Where was her mind wandering? "Ray," her father said softly, as though prodding her awake. "You do understand the terms, don't you?" Softly, almost delinquently, Ray turned her gaze toward Enji, her eyes meeting his with the faintest flicker of awareness. For a fleeting moment, her expression softened. It was brief, so brief that Enji almost thought he of flowers nearby, tiny delicate lilies of the valley, her favorite flower her father had mentioned in passing. She smiles for those? Enji thought, strangely fascinated. A woman so cold, so distant, could smile for something so small. It made no sense, but that flicker of life in her eyes disappeared as quickly as it had come. She was ice again. "I understand," said Ray, her voice soft as a winter breeze. There was no joy, no sadness, no anger, just emptiness. Enji's brow furrowed. She had agreed, but not because she desired the union. Her voice, her eyes, they spoke of duty, not love or ambition. She wasn't like him. She didn't burn with a desire for greatness or power. She was like a vessel, once of this, for her family's sake, but nothing more. "Then it's settled," her father said, his tone almost reverent, although Enji had bestowed great blessing upon their family. "Our families will be united." Enji gave a curt nod, his mind racing with the thoughts of the future, of the powerful children they would have, of the quirk he would pass on. But as he stood and prepared to leave, he spared one last glance at Ray. She had returned to her distant, faraway stare, her mind drifting once again, and she didn't know what to think about her, but the feeling gnawed at him. Not just in her agreement to this marriage, but in her as a person. Something hollow. He would never admit it out loud, but the thought unsettled him. As he left the Himura estate, the cold autumn air biting at his skin, and she couldn't shake the feeling that he had stepped into something far colder than he had anticipated. This marriage would serve his ambitions, but there was something in Ray, something beyond the ice, the stoicism, that he did not yet understand, and it unnerved him. She was cold, distant, and something about that felt dangerous. Okay, so that was chapter 1 of this Side of Paradise, A Mother's Lullaby by Scoregirl on AO3. I know that this video is like 2 weeks late, but I do have an explanation for that, and here's the explanation. In the last 2 weeks or so, quite a few things have been going on in my personal life that only primarily my family knows about, and I would like to keep it that way. Just primarily some bigger changes around the house, along with some other things, including a celebration of sorts. Also, part of the reason this video is late is its thumbnail, because humans are hard to draw. I spent a good couple hours on this thumbnail, if I remember correctly, about 8 hours? Because again, humans are very hard to draw, even with a reference. Also, I am planning to get this channel on a different upload schedule pretty soon, where instead of it being just every Saturday, it's going to be slowly going down to once every 4 days, because of the fact that I would preferably like to start going through all the fics I have lined up faster, because currently, including the fics I have already podfic and are still going to be podfic in the future, there's about 8 different fics, and that's not yet including in the fic that I'm making, that I'm going to be posting around closer to the end of April, or start of May, and maybe even the start of April. It's a fic that has a concept I've been trying to explore for a while, and when we get there, I hope you guys enjoy it. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Also, I'm remaking my schedule so that way I can line up my schedule with April Fool's Day, because I have something planned out that I think a decent chunk of you that enjoy My Hero Academia will find pretty interesting. But that's all, and by my progs. Remember, go down to the link in description to leave comments or kudos on this fic, and see you next time!